Rightly or wrongly, a lot of people believe that we live in a terrorism-prone age. I'm not sure that I really agree with that assessment, but it's quite clear that there is some huge divide in terms of, roughly speaking, the West and the Islamic world with regards to this issue. Each side believes, or there are elements in each side that believe that they are being put under intolerable pressure by the other. And of course, these elements on each side take a fairly Manichaean worldview, i.e., we are good, they are the bad people, and they are winning. So we've got to fight them harshly. We've got to fight them with whatever weapons we have at our disposal. The voices for this sort of thing we hear quite frequently in the West. In other words, the usual tired old statements like force is the only thing that they know. Their religion teaches them to be terrorists, teaches them to be brutal and backward, and they're just naturally savage people who think very, very primitively and have no other answer to any of their own problems, which are all basically of their own creation, than force. Now, okay, you see this all the time on YouTube. The corollary to that is, of course, the idea that the United States, egged on by the Jewish/Israeli lobby and various powerful hidden special interest groups, are putting us under enormous pressure because of oil, because of a large number of conspiracies in their own society that most of the people that live in that society are blind to, or things like this. Now, my experience has led me to believe that the overwhelming majority of people on both sides of the equation do not really subscribe to this kind of black-white view of each other. It's strange that most people in the Islamic world have nothing but goodwill, at the very worst, just indifference towards the West. But generally, it's goodwill. If you've ever visited there, you'll see they're usually very delighted to see a Western person. And at the same time, in spite of what you might see some people screaming on the internet or on the various call-in shows, most people in the West are quite willing to, let the Islamic world go its own way, and they don't really want to pressure anybody. And even the people that normally get blamed for this kind of thing, for causing trouble, i.e. the Jewish lobby, the majority of Western Jewish people of the Jewish faith, don't really approve of certain things that the Israeli government policy. So it's not as if there's this big Jewish conspiracy egging on the Israelis to oppress the Palestinians. So why is it that we have this disconnect between reality on the ground and this kind of strange perception that the West is oppressing the Islamic world and the Islamic world is threatening the West, where that just isn't happening? Well, I think one of the things is the tendency that we all have, the human tendency to sort of blame, to say that we are the good people, they are the bad people. And it's interesting that the critical people in the West tend to sort of buy into this, or a lot of the self-critical people in the West tend to buy into this, basically saying that it's all our fault that we are being attacked by Osama bin Laden. Or at least it sounds that way according to some of their arguments, or it's all elements in our own country's side that are causing this. So I'm not really sure that is a very helpful way to go either. Whose fault is this? This mess that we're in has got to be the stupidest possible question we could ask. Who started this? How far back do you want to go? Whose fault is this? When did the chain of events start that led to the world that we're in right now? I've studied history all of my life, and you can just keep going farther and farther and farther back. Radovan Karadzic, recently appearing in front of the UN War Crimes Tribunal, said, well, listen, if you want to understand what happened in Bosnia in the mid-1990s, you have to go back at least as far as the 14th century. Now, at least as far. So that's the way that a lot of thinking takes place. A lot of people actually will go back that far. Whereas the problem is when you confront the other side with this sort of thing, they don't even, most of the people on the side that are getting blamed for something aren't even aware that any of this happened. In other words, an example that is often trotted out about the reason for the present Iranian regime to be extremely disgruntled with the United States, i.e. the Great Satan, is the overthrow of the Mossadegh government. Well, most Americans, most Westerners, most Canadians aren't even aware that this happened. Okay, now, one could say, well, that's their fault because they should know what their own government is doing. But the problem is the government is doing so many things all the time that it's pretty much impossible for every human being to be in touch with all of it at any given moment. But that doesn't mean that these grudges don't get held. 9/11 is going to be something like that. That's going to be an albatross hanging around the necks of the Islamic world for a very, very long period of time. When you call it the Islamic world, really, at the end of the day, had nothing to do with 9/11. But they're going to get blamed for it. They are going to, look, whatever we did, what you did was worse. What you did on 9/11 was so horrible that it automatically, even by default, gave us the moral high ground. So this is the kind of thinking that, if you ask me, makes sure that terrorism, conflict, and that kind of thing is going to go on indefinitely. What do we really want here? My view on the whole thing is the Arab-Israeli conflict, the war on terror, the clash of civilizations, whatever you want to call any of these sorts of things, bloody fault lines, whatever. What do you want to do? Do you want some idea of justice? In other words, the miscreants, the perps, be punished? Because good luck in trying to unsnarl that one. Or do you just want the conflict to stop? In my opinion, in my reading of history, you cannot have both. You have to deal with the fact that there is a conflict taking place, and there's only one way out of it, and that is to just stop it. The Irish seem to be learning this. I think it's going to be a while before a lot of other people learn this. But again, if you seek to get the moral high ground, if you seek to demonize the other guy, you are perpetuating the conflict. The problem isn't Osama bin Laden. The problem isn't George W. Bush, the Bilderbergers, Israel, or the Iranian government. The problem is the conflict itself. Thank you.